Welcome back to another video. This time around I'll be testing the Insta360 Ace Pro 2, and yes, this time around I actually have the camera. I'll put this thing to the test: the build quality, the video quality, the audio quality, the stabilization, and the low light performance, because apparently this is the best low light performing action camera currently on the market. So let's see how good this actually is. Let's go. So let's start off first with the build quality. If you've ever owned an Insta360 camera, you're probably familiar with Insta360's quality, and they do make the best possible quality cameras in terms of build, materials, design. I actually like this design, to be completely honest. It grew on me. And honestly, in the current state of action cameras, you cannot put something that feels cheap and plasticky out and expect to sell any product. So alongside with DJI and GoPro, Insta are doing a really good job of making their cameras durable, feeling good in the hand. And this flip-up screen, which is a nice feature to have, is actually very, it feels durable. I mean, I would not mount this on my helmet and go down with a mountain bike. I would put my screen like this. But just the fact that you can tilt it this way and then look at it from the top when you're filming, that just sold the feature to me. Honestly, I always thought that the front-facing screen was the easier one. You just turn the camera around and not have to do this all the time. But just the fact that you can see it like this from the top, definitely a cool thing. The other thing that I find also much better compared to other cameras is the magnetic attachment. Now, this one attaches with probably the least amount of effort, because it's a bit narrower. You can just put it on and it attaches without any effort. I find that with DJI, I'm always kind of latching one and then the other one, so I have to do it like one side and then the other. Here you just mount it straight on, and yeah, just works. And the release mechanism is also a much bigger improvement. Although it's not magnetic, there are these two latches that actually latch on. Actually, there's four of them that latch onto the camera, and you get a mechanical connection. The third thing is the microphone buffer, or buffling dead cat foamy kind of thing that you get as an extra piece, and you can put this onto your camera over the microphone, and you will have, like physical wind damping or wind noise reduction built in right here in front of the mic. Also something that other cameras don't have. I find this to be useful, and I always use just this. I don't use the other piece, the little plastic piece. But if you want to go underwater, then well, you have to not use the foam, because it will get wet and probably take a little bit longer to dry out. Now, on one side you have your memory card and your USB-C port, and on the other side you have your battery door. And I did get the dual battery combo, where you get an extra battery, so that way you can film for much longer. So let's talk about battery life next. Now, when it comes to battery life, Insta360 state that you can get a solid 3 hours worth of recording with one battery charge. However, for that you need to turn on the endurance mode, and this will turn off a lot of the AI features, because this camera has two processors. You have the imaging processor and the AI processor, and they use up a lot of power, but they give the camera its advantage. However, if you want to film for the full 3 hours, you have to, turn on the endurance mode, 1080p recording, up to 30 frames per second. However, I did test it out in 4K, 25 frames per second, where I had the back screen always on, and it lasted 2 hours and 10 minutes. I did have to format my memory card in between, but the solid 2 hours and 10 minutes. And then I also repeated the test where I had the pure video mode, the AI enhanced low light performance video function turned on, and that lasted for about an hour before the camera overheated. So honestly, if you want to record in low light, in like 22 centigrade environments, well, you're going to get up to 1 hour's worth of recording. Personally, I never record video clips that are that long, and I'm guessing if you're riding around with your bike at night, the cool wind is going to cool the camera down. Here I had my screen collapsed like this, and I know that I could get a few more minutes if I would have this open, because more surface area for cooling. But 2 solid hours of video recording on one battery charge, Yeah, honestly, that's more than I need. I don't know about you guys, but 2 hours, now I can completely film a vlog with just one charge. Okay, but the most important thing on any camera is its video quality. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of the Insta360 look, but they do give you an iLog option, so you can shoot in a flat log picture profile, and therefore it's easier to match this camera's look to every other camera if you have multiple cameras. However, this is the only camera that gives you the highest quality video coming straight out of it, even in low light situations, because of that AI and image enhancing chips. So if you don't want to fiddle around with color grading in post-production, then this is probably the best option currently on the market. You just have to play around with the sharpness a little bit. I have it set to medium. I would never go up to high, and when I'm shooting with log, I have it set to low, because in that case I am going to be color grading the video and I'll be adding sharpness afterwards. Also the denoising. Now, as you guys probably know, this is an 8K action camera, so it shoots video resolution in 8K. There is definitely a noticeable difference compared to 4K, but is it true 8K pixel to pixel? Oof, that's a bit hard to tell, and the files are larger and they are a bit heavier to edit with. But the cool thing is that you can actually digitally zoom in. You can do this even on the camera by double tapping the screen, and you will get a zoom in. So you can get a bit more compressed and cinematic shots. But 8K does not support the in-body HDR, which gives this camera the 13 plus stops of dynamic range. Now, honestly, the 13 stops of dynamic range do look a bit image processed, but it's definitely a high dynamic range video camera. I mean, really impressive for a sensor that is just 1/1.3 inch. And it is an updated version of the original Ace Pro 1 image sensor, so slightly better 50 megapixel photos that look like this. I mean, pretty good for a teeny tiny camera, although all of them are going to be extremely wide angle, because 157 degrees of field of view is way too much, and you have a whole bunch of field of view options. I typically use the Mega because it is the widest and it's not as warped as some other ones. So if it's a wide angle action camera, might as well go with the widest possible field of view. But the biggest downside of the video quality is that it's only 8-bit. So even though you have a flat log image profile, it's going to be an 8-bit video recording, so that's going to be harder to grade. However, as impressive as this is, you can see it in this example where I just shot a clip of the sky and then graded it with the official LUT and a bit of tweaking. There is almost no banding in the sky, and gradient skies like this, where you go from a darker blue to a brighter blue, for instance, typically start to cause banding because there's not enough colors in an 8-bit video recording. But on this camera, it's actually not bad. So having 8-bit and log works really well, and for the most part, if there is enough light, I always shoot with log, because as I said, it's easier to match the look of this to other cameras. Okay, now it doesn't get more low light than this. What you think, Alex? It is definitely low light, and I think it's way too orangey, so the white balance definitely not working properly if you keep it at auto. But still, I mean, low light, cool. Okay, so this is blue and this is orange somewhat, but I am manually white balancing this, otherwise it would be like this. And this doesn't even look that bad. There is a bit of blue light over here. Not really sure if this is good enough to drive, but now let's do the audio test without any voice isolation. This is straight from the camera, and I do have the little wind foam on my microphone, and I'm in my car, and it's a very loud car because it's an old car. So this is no voice isolation, and this is now with voice isolation, or more precisely voice enhancement.
It is a loud car, and you're hearing my voice through the little foamy thing on the microphone. So I'm really making it tough for the camera.
Now, when it comes to audio quality, it's as good as it can get. It's pretty much comparable to any other action camera currently out there, and I think it's probably one of the best. And you also have the voice enhancement feature, which uses that AI internal processing to give you the cleanest voice isolation that I've ever seen on any action camera, or pretty much on any camera that I've ever tried. It doesn't distort the voice, which is really cool. So if you're in an environment where there's humming in the back, well, it's going to get rid of that. It's going to enhance the voice volume, and it's going to keep the voice tone or the color or the sound of the voice natural. So it's really impressive when it comes to that. And with the wind foam muff over here, even the wind is not going to be a big issue. However, it's not the same as having an external microphone with a dead cat. That's going to be much better. And speaking of that, you can actually connect an external microphone through Bluetooth. Even the DJI Mic 2 can be connected to this, and you can use a dead cat on that microphone, and it's going to get rid of all of the wind noise. But for the most part, I'm pretty sure you're not going to need it. If you're going to use this camera for vlogging, it sounds really good. Very impressed. Now for the stabilization test, I'll be testing this out with 4K 25 frames per second, 4K 50 and 8K 25 with the stabilization turned on, and we'll see how good this actually is. Is there any difference between 50, 25, 4K, 8K? I'm not the running type. I typically cycle, so running is not my thing. So I'm gonna run back and forth like an idiot with a small action camera. Okay, so some final thoughts before I end this video. If you're looking to buy an action camera, I would say that, well, pretty much any action camera that you buy today is going to be just as good as any other action camera. But if you want to get the best looking video straight out of the camera without any post-production fiddling, and this is, I think, the only real amazing option, especially if you'll be filming in low light scenarios as well. And the fact that you can tilt the screen like this and view the camera from different angles, not just always direct in the direction of recording, but this is something that has me sold. Seriously, I never knew it could be so handy. So definitely in terms of practicality, yeah. And as I said, the build quality and the durability is really good. I mean, this really feels good in the hand. So honestly, if I would have to choose between all of the brands, yeah, probably this one. I mean, even though I said some really bad things about the first version, which I did not test, yeah, this one actually good, actually good. Anyway, if you guys have any comments on this, please leave that down below. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and hit the like button for the algorithm. And if you want to stay on the channel, watch last week's video, then click on this one over here. Thank you, and I'll see you in this one. Bye bye.